Matthew Stafford is going back to Cali after getting everyone's hopes up. What's next for the Raiders at the quarterback position? Shedeur Sanders looking to change the culture for whoever drafts him, and Raiders tight end Michael Mayer could be on the trade block. Yo, what's up, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Samoa Raider, back at it again with yet another video. If this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love Las Vegas Raiders content, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos just like this. Now, I actually shot a video earlier this morning and I was getting ready to drop it because there was a lot of reports coming out of Matthew Stafford and the Raiders possibly bringing them over here and, having a contract in place. But all of that got scrapped right before I dropped it because news came out that Matthew Stafford will be returning back to California to play for the weekend Rams. According to Adam Schefter, he's the one that broke the news, saying that the Rams and Matthew Stafford reached an agreement today on a restructured deal that keeps him in Los Angeles and quashes any and all trade speculations. The first significant offseason quarterback domino has fallen. Now, this is kind of crazy because it seemed like Matthew Stafford could have been on his way out because they couldn't figure out a deal to get done in LA. And heck, there was reports going around, according to The Athletic via Diana Rossini, that the Raiders and the Giants actually have discussed a 2-year contract for Matthew Stafford that included $90 to $100 million guaranteed. Damn. And at that price range, honestly, I really didn't want to get Matthew Stafford. It's not that Matthew Stafford isn't a good quarterback, but it's the fact that we would have to spend a lot of money to give him a new contract. And to say that the Raiders were going to give him a fully guaranteed contract, $45 to $50 million per year, I think was really, really crazy. And then on top of all of that, we'd still have to give up a lot of draft capital if we wanted to bring Matthew Stafford over here to Las Vegas. And there's reports saying that they wanted a first-round pick. And if you were to ask me that, I'd still say, hell no. I don't care how good of a quarterback you think he is. I just don't think he's the guy. And if we were to give up all of those assets to get Matthew Stafford, then we better win a Super Bowl in the first or second year that he's here in Las Vegas. Just all of that just didn't add up to me. Would I have wanted Matthew Stafford to be the quarterback for us? I wouldn't mind it. I think that he is a capable quarterback, but for the price that we were going to have to give up to get him, I was totally fine without getting him. Now, with that said though, Raider Nation, where does this leave the Las Vegas Raiders right now, especially at the quarterback position? Now, there's been a lot of reports, according to Adam Schefter, that with Matthew Stafford remaining with the Rams, the Las Vegas Raiders are now expected to investigate veteran quarterback options that include Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Sam Darnold. And to be honest with you guys, these were the most realistic quarterbacks that the Raiders were going to get. On top of that, maybe Aaron Rodgers. The only reason why I'm saying this is the fact that they're not going to cost as much as it would to bring Matthew Stafford. Now, I'm not going to say that the Raiders weren't doing everything they could to go get Matthew Stafford, because I feel like there was a serious conversation to be had that Matthew Stafford could have been a Las Vegas Raiders in 2025. We just weren't able to sign him, and he ended up going to the Rams, get this, for a much cheaper price. Crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why go through all the motions of possibly going and talking to other teams and getting interest from a lot of other teams, us and the Giants, just for them to sign him back on a cheaper deal? What? But all that aside though, having Justin Fields and Russell Wilson out there, those are two quarterbacks that I've talked about a lot. Justin Fields being my #1 quarterback in free agency because of his age, because of how much it's going to cost the Raiders, and the fact that he's a young quarterback with a high ceiling. And when you think about Chip Kelly's offense and who can run this offense, you're looking at a dual threat quarterback. And I think Justin Fields checks off all those boxes, and I think that he would be a solid bridge quarterback for this team. If he doesn't do well, then okay, we move on. If he does good, then hey, he can be the quarterback for at least these next couple of years. We still go out and draft a quarterback, but we at least have a quarterback to take over the immediate future. Now, Russell Wilson also falls in that same category for me, a bridge quarterback that can take over and could come over here on a cheap deal. And not only that, the fact that he has that relationship with Pete Carroll. Ever since we hired Pete Carroll, I've talked about Russell Wilson, and I think that if the Steelers don't bring him back, he's a guy that the Raiders should definitely keep an eye on. Now, I know that he's not young and he's past his prime, but I still think that he's a much capable quarterback to go out there and at least lead this Raiders team to a couple of wins this year. And as far as Sam Darnold, you guys already know how I feel about him. Not saying that he's a bad quarterback, but I'm not really high on him just for the mere fact that he's going to be a guy that's going to get a huge payday in free agency. I'm not trying to pay him upwards of $40 million per year to come over here because of what he did over there in Minnesota. Heck, everybody that plays under Kevin O'Connell has done great. And most of that maybe can be in due part that he's in a great system. And maybe he can come over here to Las Vegas and flourish. And I can eat my words. And I hope I'm wrong. If the Raiders do go out and get Sam Darnold, because that's a quarterback that, you know, the Raiders have been linked to a lot in free agency, if he could come over here and at least lead this team and pick up where he left off from last season, then I wouldn't be mad. I'd be totally fine crowing to you guys and telling you guys how wrong I was about him. But still, for the Raiders, I just don't see him coming over here and being that quarterback for us. But if the Raiders were able to get him and bring him over here for a cheaper deal and not have to pay him all this money, then I'd be fine with it. You know, take a low risk, high reward type of move for this team, because that's what we need at the quarterback position. But with all of that being said, the Raiders still need to draft a quarterback no matter who they bring in free agency. And that's the key, because we have to at least have somewhat of the future on this team moving forward. Whether you go out and get a Russell Wilson, whether you go out and get a Justin Fields or a Sam Darnold, heck, maybe a Trey Lance, heck, maybe get Aaron Rodgers, whoever it may be, as long as the Raiders can solidify the quarterback position in the draft, and I'm okay with it. They don't have to go get a guy in the first round. They don't have to get a guy in the second round. They could get somebody, anybody. Please just help this team out. Now, one quarterback that's not going to be on the roster next year, of course, we talked about Gardner Minshew. He most likely is going to be gone from this team. But just today, according to Tom Pelissero, it seems like Desmond Ridder's time with the Raiders has come to an end, tweeting out that the Raiders have informed quarterback Desmond Ridder they won't tender him as a restricted free agent, making him a free agent. His time as a Raider has come to an end, as it should. We really haven't seen much from Desmond Ridder to prove that he could be a viable quarterback for us, even a backup quarterback for us. And as bad as the quarterback position was for us, I feel like this would have been the perfect situation for him to go out there and show what he had. We just didn't see it. And he just looked like a shell of himself, and he looked like the same quarterback that we all knew he was, and that's a below average quarterback. But since we're on the subject of quarterbacks, I want to talk about some of the quarterbacks that were at the NFL Combine. The first person I want to talk about is Shedeur Sanders. Reports say that the Raiders have met with Shedeur Sanders. They got to sit down and talk to him. And, you know, I love what he had to say at the podium. He had a lot of things to say, but some things that really stood out to me, one being his ability to make adjustments to any situation and make an impact.
I've been through 6 different OCs, you know, so I'm able to adjust to any offense and every scheme and make it work. We went from Jackson State to Colorado and changed 2 programs back to back. So you don't think I could come to an NFL franchise and change the program again? It's history. We done it again. It's always going to repeat itself.
Talk that talk, Goose. You know, another thing that I liked hearing from him is the fact that if you're not trying to change your franchise or your culture, then don't draft him. And you know what? I love the confidence from Shedeur Sanders. And, you know, he's been hearing a lot of things. There's been a lot of flack thrown his way. And I know that there's a lot of Raider fans that want to overlook Shedeur Sanders. But still, at the end of the day, for me, he's my number 1 quarterback in the NFL draft over Cam Ward, because I believe that he's much more of a safer pick at the quarterback position. And if there's any coaching staff that can coach him up to be great in the league, it would be Pete Carroll and even Chip Kelly. And he's a quarterback that, even at number 6, if he was to drop, because there's a lot of teams that could possibly pass on him, I would love the Raiders to pick at 6. And even at that, if the Raiders were to pick him up, we don't have to start him right away. Like I said before, getting a veteran quarterback to be the bridge could give somebody like Shedeur Sanders some time to, you know, get acclimated with the NFL. And if there's any team in the NFL that needs that culture change around the whole franchise, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, moving on to another quarterback that has some things to say about the Raiders. One is Jackson Dart.
Been really excited to meet with them this week. It was great to sit down with them. You know, Coach Carroll and Chip was great. You know, Chip recruited me out of high school, so, you know, we kind of had a relationship from that early on. But, you know, they're an elite staff, and I think that they're on a great track for a lot of improvement for these upcoming years. I also have, you know, one of my best friends from high school, JPJ, as an offensive lineman there. So it's kind of been fun to talk with him and get his experience inside of things. But, you know, they're a great program, and they're definitely trending.
Jackson Dart is definitely a top 3, top 4 quarterback in this NFL draft, and could be a quarterback that the Raiders could select in the first round, late first round, somewhere. I don't know, even maybe, if anything, in the second round. But just to see that he has a lot of high praise for Chip Kelly. Not only that, you know, his friend, his compadre back in high school, JPJ, who knows? I think Jackson Dart is another solid possible answer for the Raiders at the quarterback position, as well as Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. Now, Howard did talk a little bit about Chip Kelly and even the possible reunion with him here in Las Vegas.
Talk to me about your interactions with the Las Vegas Raiders and what would it mean to you to get to play with Coach Chip Kelly again?
It'd be awesome, man. And seeing that that move from Coach Kelly, I'm so happy for him, and one of the best coaches I've had, man. And one of my favorite people I've been around, and we've stayed in contact, and I hope it'd be amazing to get the opportunity to play for him again. Really, anyone. I'd be happy to go anywhere, man. But he's a great dude, and I'm just so happy that he got the opportunity that he did, and I think that's a really good place.
Now, I've told you guys before that Will Howard has slowly been climbing up the draft board for me, just for the mere fact that he's played under Chip Kelly, just for the mere fact that he's done a great job in college, and especially the college football playoffs, just showing his elite accuracy and showing his leadership. He's a guy that, with the size, arm strength, and even mobility, could be the next Raiders great quarterback, and he could come over here and sit down under a bridge quarterback just like anybody else that I would draft in this year's draft. But if the Raiders are not looking to get a quarterback at number 6 and maybe not even 37, then we could possibly look at Will Howard in the 3rd round. I just hope that he doesn't raise his draft stock, these next couple of weeks, because I would love to get him in the 3rd round, but we'll see what happens moving forward. And the last quarterback I want to talk about at the NFL Combine is Cam Ward, and he believes that he could be the solution for the Raiders as well as a lot of the other teams.
Whether it's the Titans, the Browns, Giants, Raiders, whether, what other team they need a quarterback, I think I'd be a part of, everybody's solution. At the end of the day, you got to go prove that every time you step on the field. And, you always got to remember, that there's somebody always want to, get behind you and try to catch up. So, I'm willing to, put that work in to, put myself, my family, my teammates in, good situation. And, I know as a quarterback, everything's going to be on your plate. Whether you win a game, it's your fault, you lose a game, it's your fault. I take that on every day. I'm excited to, get the journey going.
Now, with that said, though, Raider Nation, man, I want to ask you guys, if you guys had the decision to make out of these top 4 quarterbacks between Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and Will Howard, who would be your choice at quarterback in this year's draft to be the future of the Las Vegas Raiders? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Last thing that I want to talk about real quick is the fact that the Raiders might be in some trade talks. According to The Athletic, they've reported that the Raiders have had discussions with teams involving tight end Michael Mayer. There's been interest in Mayer from teams around the league, and the Raiders are listening and interested in settling for a trade. Running back Zamir White has also been made available, but it's unknown if any teams are currently interested. Now, this is really interesting news because Michael Mayer, of course, is a solid and could be a great tight end in the league. We drafted him in the 2nd round a couple of years ago. That was before we got Brock Bowers. And I know a lot of people might think that we don't need Michael Mayer, and we possibly don't. But, I wouldn't mind keeping him on the roster just to pair up with Brock Bowers and be that 1-2 punch at the tight end position. Now, I know we don't really need 2 good tight ends, but I know if the Raiders are able to settle on anything solid, I don't know what we could get. But looking at it, I think the Raiders could maybe at most get a 4th round pick, and I'd be okay with that. Would I want to trade him though? Maybe not, because I still would love him on the team, but I would understand why they would do that. Now, as for Zamir White, I think that's a guy that we should definitely move on from. The running back room needs a whole revamp from the ground up. And if the Raiders aren't even able to get a trade going for Zamir White, then release his ass. I'm just tired of seeing him on the team. Didn't really provide much for us, and this was the year that he could have made the most out of himself, but he wasn't able to do that. So with all that being said, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about the Raiders possibly trading away Michael Mayer? Would you be okay with that, and for what price? And Zamir White, what do you think about his future with the Raiders? Should the Raiders just keep him on the roster for some depth or just move on entirely from him? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until the next video, this is your boy Simone Raider, and your boy is